Well, between 1985 and 1992, families all over the world would settle in weekly to watch Growing Pains. For 7 seasons, the award-winning sitcom followed the trials and tribulations of the Seaver family, with an ongoing theme song that was guaranteed to get stuck in your head.
We got each other, sharing the laughter and love.
Now, one of these scene-stealing characters was Ben Seaver, played by Jeremy Miller, the family's rambunctious youngest son, whose cheeky quips garnered loads and loads of laughs.
Ben, what are you doing?
Watching Carol flirt with some guy, and he's not Bobby.
Well, that's none of your bit... What guy?
I don't know, but I think he's a little weird.
Why?
He's interested in Carol.
Jeremy has been working on the small and silver screens consistently since the early 80s, but has also found a new passion in the unlikeliest of places. We welcome star of Growing Pains, Jeremy Miller.
Hey.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Hey, Larry, Kylie, how are you guys?
Take us back to the 80s. You're starring on one of the biggest shows of the decade. I mean, what was that like to process as a young boy? It must have been so much fun.
It was just an amazing time. I don't have the horror stories from Hollywood. Our set was amazing, and we had a ball. You know, I had a 200-person family. The cast, the crew, everybody looked out for you. It was really special, and it was strange, you know, being that young and being that well known, not being able to really go anywhere without getting recognized. But you know, there were a lot of perks, and I've always said that all the benefits far outweighed any negative that ever came out of it.
We'd love to say that you haven't changed a bit, but you have. Alan,
it's been a while. Yes.
Alan Thicke played your on-screen dad. He sadly passed away, of course, in 2016. You had a very special connection with him, right?
Alan and I were very close. I mean, he was very close to all of us. He was kind of a second dad to all of us. And yeah, we remained close even after the show. We talked regularly, at least once a month. And, you know, he always was the type of guy to call and check up on us. Oh. And when we all hadn't gotten together in a while, he would make the effort and call everybody and just go, look, book this date, bring the families up to my ranch. We're all going to hang out. We're going to have a great day. And I'd usually cook for everybody, and we'd have a great time.
I love that. Even after all these years, you do try and keep in touch with your on-screen family. Are any talks of a reboot true? Any basis in them?
Well, we've been trying. I actually put together a small reboot premise and had a great writer who wrote some episodes and actually wrote a story arc for the first 3 seasons for us. But unfortunately, Warner Brothers just wasn't interested. They said they have their own ideas of what they may want to do with it. So at this point, the ball's in Warner Brothers' court. We just don't know. We haven't heard anything new from them lately.
So will you call Warner Brothers and say that your friends Larry and Kylie in Australia would want to see that? Just see if it
I'll let them know,
it makes a
definitely.
difference.
Jeremy, can I say how refreshing that answer is? Because usually we ask the same question and they go, oh, we can't say too much. There's a special project in the works. Something will be announced soon. That's the response we usually get, but I
we'll
like
see.
that.
I can only be honest, and you know, we'll see. I would love it. They said they have ideas, but we haven't heard anything yet. I do know that I've spoken to Kirk and Tracy, and both of them would be interested in doing it. I had spoken to Joanna when I was putting my version of the reboot together. You know, Joanna Kearns, who played my mom, and she was up for doing it, although she doesn't want to act anymore. So because she's a very, very, very successful director. She doesn't really like being in front of the camera anymore, so she had agreed to maybe do a cameo or two, you know, to keep some continuity. But no, as far as I know, everybody's on board. We're just kind of waiting to see what Warner Brothers does.
Right, your fans around the world will go nuts for that. The show was a launching pad for heaps of young stars. Hollywood heavyweights, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, added Growing Pains to their credits. Did you get a sense they were going to make it big? Were you working with Leo and he was like, he's going to be the Wolf of Wall Street for sure?
Well, I don't think anybody saw the level of success, but I can tell you with both Brad and Leo, you saw something special. Leo in particular, when he really loosened up. And I take no credit for this, but me and one of our script supervisors worked with him during the first few shows. Because if you watch the first couple episodes, he was very kind of stiff and uncomfortable. And we saw this different guy behind the scenes, this fun, energetic, charismatic kid. And we just worked with him to try and get that to come out and just try and convince him to be himself in front of the camera. And as soon as that happened, you just saw this. You were kind of like, okay, this kid's got something. This is really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to go all TMZ on you now. We have to ask about a recent headline. You were dating Full House star Candice Berry, who's the sister of your Growing Pains co-star Kirk Cameron. And then there were reports that you, at the same time, you also asked Wonder Years' favourite Danica McKellar out on a date. Is that a true story?
I don't quite remember it that way, but Candace does, and her memory is probably better than mine. Yes, we didn't date per se. I mean, I was 12, she was 11. We were, going together. It was all we ever did was dance together to, Careless Whispers or some other slow song when we had Growing Pains parties and stuff. But apparently, yes, I apparently broke up with her through her sister over the phone so that I could go out with Danica. Like I said, I don't remember it that way, but hey, it might have happened, and I've already apologized to both of them.
Recollections may vary. That's such a refreshing answer, because we ask a lot of Hollywood people that, and they always say, we can't say.
Yeah.
So it was a very good answer.
Julie's very honest this morning.
When you're not in front of a camera, you're in the kitchen. What inspired your love of cooking and becoming a chef? You said that you used to you'd cook for all the big parties up on the ranch.
Yes, my grandmother was a self-trained chef, and her way of showing love and how much she cared was through cooking. And a couple times a year, on New Year's and Easter and Thanksgiving, she would open up our home to the neighborhood, and anybody who didn't have anywhere to be on those holidays could come to my grandma's and get a meal. And her and I would cook for days, and multiple turkeys and hams and sides and pies, and that was something I learned from her. And I really learned to love cooking and just expressing myself that way. And again, that is kind of my love language. I mean, if I cook for you, I probably care about you.
Oh, that's so lovely. And is that that's what you're doing these days?
Well, I'm still acting. I still am tied into some independent projects and stuff, a couple of movies and a few TV shows. But yes, I'm also a chef. I teach private cooking classes and parties, and I also do a lot of private home chefing as well. I don't work in restaurants anymore. But yeah, I'm very blessed to have two passions where I can be very content. When I'm in front of the camera, it's home. But when I'm behind the stove and I'm cooking, that's home too. So I'm very blessed to have two things that, say if the jobs aren't rolling at the time or we're waiting on a project, like with the strike that just happened, I was able to continue with my cooking and still do something that I really enjoy.
Lovely to hear. Jeremy, thank you very much for your time this morning. We are out of time, and I do apologise for Kylie asking those very difficult questions about your 10-year-old relationships. We appreciate your honesty today.
Not 10-year-old, like as when he was a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Bye, Jeremy.
Thank you
Lovely
guys
to
for
talk to
having
you.
me on.
See you, mate.